It's a funny thing, the things you remember from the road. It's not always the big stuff, the blowouts or the close calls that stick with you. Sometimes it's the quiet moments, the things you see out your window that get under your skin and stay there. For me, it was a piece of paper taped to a telephone pole on an old two-lane highway in Oklahoma. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The story, like any good haul, has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it all starts with the road. The life of a long-haul trucker is a rhythm. It's the hum of the engine, the hiss of the air brakes, the endless ribbon of asphalt spooling out in front of you. You get used to the solitude, the feeling of being a ship sailing through a sea of sleeping towns and bustling cities. My rig was my home, my office, and my sanctuary. A Peterbilt. Not one of the new fancy ones with all the chrome, but she was reliable. The sleeper was cramped, but I had it set up just the way I liked it. A small microwave for heating up canned soup, and a well-worn copy of a paperback tucked into the side pocket of the door. This particular run started in late autumn, the kind of weather that can't make up its mind. I was hauling a load of machine parts from a factory in Illinois down to a distribution center in Dallas. It was a familiar route, one I'd driven more times than I could count. I knew the good truck stops, the ones with the decent coffee and the clean showers, and the ones to avoid. I knew where the highway patrol liked to sit, and where the worst of the potholes were. The first few days were a blur of interstate, just putting miles behind me. The hours bleed into one another out here. You measure time in cups of coffee and chapters of your book. Days are for driving, nights for sleeping in the back of the cab, rocked to sleep by the rumble of other trucks coming and going. It's a lonely life, but there's a kind of freedom in it, too. No boss looking over your shoulder, just you and the road and the load in the back. I pushed through Missouri, the trees a riot of 4 colors, and crossed into Oklahoma. The landscape began to change, the rolling hills giving way to a wider, flatter expanse. The sky seemed to get bigger out here, stretching on forever in every direction. I decided to get off the main highway, take one of the older state roads for a while. Sometimes the interstate feels like a sterile tube, disconnected from the real world. The old roads, they have a different feel. They dip and curve, following the contours of the land. They take you through small towns, past weathered barns and forgotten roadside attractions. It's a slower way to go, but sometimes it's the better way. And that's how I found myself on that stretch of asphalt in rural Oklahoma, the place where this story really begins. I was somewhere between Tulsa and Oklahoma City, on the stretch of two-lane blacktop that probably hadn't changed much in 50 years. The sun was starting to dip low in the sky, painting the clouds in shades of orange and purple. It was that time of day when the world seems to slow down, to take a deep breath before the night settles in. I was thinking about where to pull over for the night, maybe find a small diner for a hot meal instead of my usual canned soup. That's when I saw it. Taped to a weathered wooden telephone pole, just on the edge of a small, dusty town, was a piece of paper. It was a lost dog poster. Now, you see these things all the time in every town and city. Usually they're photocopied, a grainy picture of a dog with the word lost in big, bold letters. But this one was different. He was handwritten, for one thing. The letters were a little shaky, like they were written by someone who was trying hard to keep their hand steady. There was a drawing of a dog, a simple, childlike sketch with floppy ears and a wagging tail. Underneath the drawing, in the same shaky handwriting, were the words, "Lost Dog. His name is Gus. He is brown and white and has one floppy ear. He is very friendly and answers to his name. He is my best friend. Please, 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 if you see him, call this number. We miss him so much. There is a reward." The word please was underlined 3 times. There was a phone number with tear-off strips at the bottom, and a few of them were already gone. But what really got me was the last line, a little smudged, as if a tear had fallen on it. It said, "He has my heart with him." I slowed the rig down, my eyes fixed on that piece of paper. It felt so personal, so raw. I could almost picture the person who wrote it,
Maybe a kid sitting at a kitchen table, carefully drawing the picture of their best friend, their heart breaking with every word. It wasn't just a lost dog, it was a lost piece of someone's life. I drove on, but I couldn't shake the image of that sign. The sun set and the darkness closed in, but in my mind I could still see that handwritten plea on the side of the road. It was more than just a piece of paper. It was a little beacon of hope, a testament to the love between a person and their dog. And as I pulled into a truck stop for the night, the question was already forming in my mind, the question that would stick with me for a long, long time. Did they ever find him?
The next morning, I woke up with the sun. The truck stop was already buzzing with activity, the air thick with the smell of diesel and frying bacon. I did my pre-trip inspection, checking the tires and the lights, the routine, a familiar comfort. But as I climbed back into the cab, my mind was still on that sign. I got back on the road, heading south towards Dallas. The landscape of Oklahoma rolled by, a patchwork of fields and small towns. I tried to listen to the radio, to lose myself in the music, but the static between stations seemed to echo the emptiness of that handwritten sign. I found myself scanning the side of the road, my eyes searching for a flash of brown and white, a dog with one floppy ear. It was a fool's errand, I knew. The chances of me, a trucker just passing through, finding a lost dog in the vastness of Oklahoma was slim to none. But still, I looked. A few hours later, I pulled into another truck stop for fuel. As I was paying, I saw a bulletin board covered with business cards and flyers. Tucked in the corner was another lost dog poster. This one was a bit more professional, a clear photo of a golden retriever with the word missing in bold red letters. It was a sad sight, but it didn't hit me in the same way as the one for Gus. There was something about that handmade sign, that heartfelt plea that had burrowed its way under my skin. I got back in my rig and continued on my way. I started thinking about all the lost things in the world, not just dogs, but people, hopes, dreams. The road is full of ghosts, the ghosts of what might have been. You see it in the abandoned gas stations, the faded billboards, the for sale signs on once thriving businesses. It's a landscape of stories, some of them with happy endings, some of them not. That night, I parked at a rest stop just over the Texas border. The sky was clear, and the stars were out in full force. I sat in the cab for a long time, just looking at them, thinking about Gus and the person who was missing him. I wondered if they were looking at the same stars, sending a wish out into the universe for their friend's safe return. I sent one out too, a silent plea into the vastness of the night. The next day, I delivered my load in Dallas. The drop-off was a chaotic scene of trucks and forklifts, a world away from the quiet backroads of Oklahoma. But even in the hustle and bustle, my thoughts kept drifting back to Gus. I had a few days of downtime before my next pickup, a rare luxury in my line of work. I could have just stayed in the city, caught a movie, had a decent meal, but I found myself pulling out the map, tracing the route I had taken through Oklahoma. On a whim, I decided to drive back up to that same stretch of two-lane highway. I don't know what I was expecting to find. Maybe I just wanted to see the sign again, to make sure I hadn't imagined it. I found the town easily enough. It was a small, quiet place, the kind of town where everyone knows everyone. I parked my rig on the outskirts and walked. The air was cool and crisp, and the leaves crunched under my feet. I found the telephone pole, and the sign was still there, a little more weathered, now a little more faded. But as I got closer, I saw something new. Taped just below the original sign was another piece of paper. This one was also handwritten, in the same shaky script, but this time the words were different. "We found him," it said. "Thank you to everyone who called. He is home and safe. Our hearts are full again." I stood there for a long time, just staring at those words. A slow smile spread across my face. I felt a wave of relief so strong it almost buckled my knees. They had found him. Gus was home. I thought about the person who wrote that second note, the joy they must have felt. I thought about Gus with his one floppy ear, finally back where he belonged. It was a small thing,
A happy ending for a lost dog in a tiny town in Oklahoma. But in that moment, it felt like the most important thing in the world. It was a reminder that sometimes, against all odds, things do work out. Hope isn't always a fool's errand. And sometimes, the stories you find on the side of the road have the happiest endings of all.
I should have just driven away then, content with the happy ending, but curiosity is a powerful thing. I found myself walking into the town's only diner, a place with a faded sign and a bell that jingled when the door opened. The place was quiet, just a few old-timers sipping coffee at the counter. The waitress, a woman with a kind face and a tired smile, came over to my booth. I ordered a cup of coffee, and then, feeling a little foolish, I asked her about the sign. "I saw the posters for the lost dog, Gus," I said, "and the one that said he was found. It's a nice story." The waitress's face lit up. "Oh, you're talking about little Leo's dog," she said. "That was something, wasn't it? The whole town was looking for that dog." She told me the story then, in bits and pieces as she refilled my coffee cup. Leo was a young boy, she said, maybe 8 or 9 years old. His family had moved to town a few months ago, and he was having a hard time making friends. Gus was his whole world. One afternoon, a storm had blown through, a real Oklahoma gully washer. The thunder had spooked Gus, and he had bolted from the yard. Leo was heartbroken. He had made the signs himself, drawing the picture of Gus from memory and writing the words with a crayon. His older sister helped him tape them up all over town. For a week, there was no sign of Gus. People called with possible sightings, but they all turned out to be false alarms. The whole town felt for the boy, the waitress said. They had all seen him out every day after school, calling Gus's name, his small voice getting hoarser with each passing day. Then, one of the farmers who lived a few miles out of town was checking on his fences after the storm and found Gus, huddled in a drainage ditch, cold and wet and scared, but otherwise unharmed. He had recognized the dog from the poster he'd seen at the feed store. The reunion, the waitress said, was something to see. Leo had wrapped his arms around Gus and just sobbed, burying his face in the dog's wet fur. And Gus, he just licked the boy's tears away, his tail thumping a frantic rhythm against the ground. Hearing the story, seeing the genuine emotion in the waitress's face that she told it, made it all the more real. It wasn't just a sign on a pole anymore. It was a story about a boy and his dog, and a town that had come together to help them. It was a story about community, about kindness, and about the simple, powerful bond between a child and his best friend. I left the diner with a full heart and a fresh perspective. The world felt a little less lonely, a little more connected. I got back in my rig and started the long drive to my next pickup, a load of cotton, heading from West Texas to a textile mill in the Carolinas. The miles rolled by, but this time, the journey felt different. The landscape, which had once seemed so vast and empty, now seemed full of stories. I found myself looking at the small towns I passed through in a new light, wondering about the people who lived there, the joys and sorrows that made up their lives. I thought about Leo and Gus and the simple, profound happiness of their reunion. It was a reminder that even in a world that can often feel harsh and indifferent, there is still so much good. There is still kindness and community and love. The life of a trucker can be an isolating one. You spend so much time alone in the bubble of your cab that it's easy to start to feel disconnected from the rest of the world. But that little handwritten sign on the side of a dusty Oklahoma road had changed something in me. It had reminded me that we are all connected in ways we can't always see. We are all part of a larger story, a tapestry of human experience woven together with threads of hope and loss and love. As I drove, I thought about all the other stories playing out in the towns and cities I passed through. The trucker's life is a series of fleeting glimpses into other people's worlds. You see a family having a picnic in a park, a couple holding hands as they walk down the street, a group of kids playing ball in a field. They are just brief snapshots, moments in time, but they are all part of the story. I realized that the road wasn't just a way to get from one place to another. It was a journey through the heart of the country,
a front row seat to the endless, unfolding drama of American life. And I was grateful for it, for the solitude and the freedom, and for the unexpected moments of grace, like a handwritten sign on a telephone pole that reminded me of the simple, powerful beauty of a happy ending.
It's been years since I saw that sign in Oklahoma. I've driven that same stretch of highway a few times since, and the town is still there, quiet and unassuming. The telephone pole is still there too, but the signs are long gone, washed away by the sun and the rain. But the story of Leo and Gus has stayed with me. It's become a part of my own personal folklore of the road, a story I tell to other drivers at truck stops late at night, a reminder of the unexpected kindness you can find in the world. I never met Leo or his family. I never saw Gus with my own eyes, but in a way I feel like I know them. They're a part of my story now, a small but significant piece of the puzzle of my life on the road. Sometimes, when the miles get long and the loneliness starts to creep in, I think about that handwritten sign and the simple, powerful message of hope it contained. It's a reminder that even when things seem lost, there is always a chance for a happy ending. It's a reminder that we are all connected, that our stories intersect in ways we can't always predict. And it's a reminder that sometimes the smallest, most insignificant things, a piece of paper, a child's drawing, a few shaky words, can leave the biggest impression of all. I still think about them, you know? I wonder how Leo is doing, if he and Gus are still the best of friends. I hope so. I hope they've had a long and happy life together, full of all the simple joys that make life worth living. I'll never know for sure, of course, but I like to think they did. And sometimes, on a long, dark night on the road, that's enough.